There is still time for the cold and flu season to begin, but we have started to see many cases of the viral flu, common cold, and even COVID cases once again. I think everyone has come to terms with it, and this repetitive cycle is going to continue. We know this, but we have to learn to prevent getting it. We have to learn to take care of it. Now, as doctors, we seem to know everything about it, but a virus is such a thing that it keeps mutating, and after years of going through it, we are still to go through the entire season as a family without getting it at least once. Now, I'm not saying that we are going to get affected by it, but you know that once you know someone who's got it, it's just a matter of time of that entire chain of transmission getting completed and circling back to you. And this reminds me of the saying, little things make big things happen, because a virus is so tiny that we cannot even see it with our naked eye, and it can cause a lot many diseases. But something as simple as common cold, it is not life-threatening per se, but we know it affects the quality of life, and when you have it, you don't feel like doing anything, your energy is not to its optimal prime, you cannot give your 100% to the work that you have to do, or you're not able to enjoy. It takes its own course. So it is good to keep a few things in mind and be prepared. Now, the first and most important thing is prevention. I cannot stress how important it is. If you just take a little care and take a few steps, you might really go through the entire season without ever contracting it. But I think that is wishful thinking until and unless you are really going to stay in a room all by yourself and not come in contact with anyone, which is impossible, right? Okay, so in this video, we are going to discuss what are the ways you can prevent getting it, what are the homemade remedies you can try once you or your loved one start getting the symptoms, and what are the few things you should have on hand. Now, when it comes to prevention, the first and the most basic thing that you can do is hand washing. In another video, I have shown the basic 6 steps of hand washing, because you have to take that much amount of time to wash the exposed part of your body the most, because these fingers and these fingertips are responsible for touching anything and everything. And believe it or not, many of us have this habit that unknowingly we might even touch different parts of our face, and we need to stop doing this. We need to stop trying to wipe off the sweat or remove the oil or just itch or fidget with our fingers, especially over the face. We really need to stop this habit if we have it. But washing your hands, especially after you come back from outside, before you touch or come in contact with anything at home. And this is a very good practice to teach your kids as well. Another very basic preventive measure is if someone in your family or in your workspace is already having common cold, I personally think they should take that time off, because if you give yourself complete rest for those 1 or 2 days, you will recuperate and bounce back very quickly. But if you see someone sneeze, or if you're going by public transport and someone sneezes, we know that this is basic etiquette to put your hand or a kerchief in front, but if the person doesn't do it, it is not wrong to tell them to do so. Another very common way, if you don't have a kerchief and if you don't want to blow into your hand, is the vampire sneeze, where you actually take your arm and sneeze. And the third most basic preventive measure that you can do is to keep your immunity up. Now, this goes hand in glove with getting adequate rest, good amount of sleep, eating plenty of wholesome rich food. If you're on any form of diet, or if you're fasting, or whatever you might be doing for weight loss, it is better to stop all those things, because your body needs energy and immunity to bounce back and fight back against those pathogens that are attacking it. Alright? But if you do end up getting a bout of common cold or the flu, depends on what it is and how severe it is. There are certain home remedies that are very helpful. It is something that our ancestors have been doing. I'm sure you must be having your grandparents or an elderly in the family having their own special secret family recipes. If you know something that is different from what I'll be discussing right now, feel free to leave it in the comments below. I love learning new things and what y'all have to share, and we have a beautiful community that really grows and thrives together here. The first one is ginger and honey. It's a wonderful remedy, especially if you are suffering from sore throat. Ginger has the active component gingerol, and together with honey, it makes this combination a very powerful analgesic, antimicrobial, and an anti-inflammatory potion. It almost has a very instant soothing effect on an inflamed mucosa. It's very simple to make. You take a piece of fresh ginger, you just grate it, and then you remove the juice and take a spoonful of honey in equal quantities, mix it and have it. If you find it too spicy, you can increase the quantity of honey a bit. Another way is, if you don't have access to fresh ginger, use ginger powder. Whatever it is, in some way or the other, it is going to help and work. Another beautiful homemade remedy is turmeric milk. I'm sure everyone during childhood must have had a glass of turmeric milk. It is known as haldi doodh, and it is nothing new if you have Indian roots connected. I don't have to list the benefits that turmeric has. It is a rage everywhere, and it's like the cure for almost everything. We have turmeric lattes and turmeric shots and whatnot available today. But this very simple thing not only ensures that you get a good night's sleep, but when you are getting that restful sleep, it has certain compounds and components that will help your body actually produce interferons and antibodies to fight against the virus or the bacteria that is attacking it. In case you're wondering what is the best way to make it, or you aren't still aware about it, it is very easy. You bring a cup of milk to a boil, then you add roughly 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric powder to it, let it simmer for 5 to 10 minutes, and then you can have it while it's still warm. Having an entire glass, especially before you retire to bed, is a very good practice till you have completely recovered. It will work whether you have common cold, sore throat, flu, any sort of illness that is related to the cold and flu. Next up, we have again something that is going to help, especially if you are having sore throat, you have inflamed and large tonsils, you're finding it very difficult to even swallow your spittle. So doing salt water gargles is going to be very beneficial in this case. What this basically does is creating that hypertonic saline solution. So the excess amount of salt is going to destroy the cell wall of the microorganism, and at the same time it is also help soothe and calm down that inflammation that is present over there. So what you do is you add 2 big tablespoons of sea salt to a glass of warm water. It doesn't have to be very hot, but if it is mildly warm, you will find it better than using plain cold water. So you take a sip of it, you squish it in your mouth, and then you literally gargle for 15, 20, 30 seconds, as long as you're comfortable, and then spit it out. So you will take, let's have some water. You will take some water. You're actually going to make a gurgling sound because you want that to come in contact with the tonsils out there, and then you're going to spit it out. You can do this 2 to 3 times at one time, and then do it 2 to 3 times throughout the day or till you feel better. The fourth thing is again something that I'm sure you know, but we underestimate the power of such simple techniques, and that is steam inhalation. This is especially very useful to give symptomatic relief if you have a runny nose. You can either do the age-old technique of taking steam from a big bowl of hot water, or you can use a vaporizing device. Whatever it is, but doing it at least twice a day will give you a lot of relief and will help liquefy those secretions that are present and remove it all out of your system. There are many other herbal remedies like echinacea, onion juice, whatever it is that you are comfortable with or acquainted with and you want to follow is fine, but make sure you give yourself adequate amount of rest. In fact, lots of rest. This is not a remedy in its true sense, but no form of treatment, whether they are home remedies or something that your doctor has prescribed, will actually work effectively if you're not going to give your body that rest to recuperate and bounce back. Your body needs that time to fight out that illness and heal itself. I think we also have our work culture to blame. Like if somebody tells that they're not coming to work because they're having common cold, is probably something that a boss might not consider, or somebody might just laugh it off. I'm not sure. At least I couldn't during my residency or during my training, especially. If we were ill, we just had limited number of holidays or leaves that we could take, and this was not one of them that we thought that we wanted to spend it on. So in this regard, I cannot say that I truly practice what I preach.
Oops.
But now, given the fact that I am my own boss and I have people working with me and for me, I definitely try to prioritize and make sure that everyone is adequately rested and feeling to their optimal levels, because the amount of productivity and the work that you can do yourself will be much more if you just take those 1 or 2 days off instead of lingering and prolonging that illness to a period of 5 to 6 days or even 2 weeks. Now let's take a look at the things that you must have handy. I like to call it the cold and flu first aid kit or the cold and flu armamentarium. It's something that you should always keep on hand because they are very useful, not only for cold and flu but just in general to keep your immunity up. And if you feel any kind of illness is creeping in, especially any infectious illness, then they prove to be very useful. The first thing is certain homeopathic remedies. Now, truth be told, I wasn't a believer of homeopathy until I actually studied it, and today I'm a clinical homeopath and I know how wonderful it is, especially for certain conditions. It does not work for anything and everything, and if you use it at the right time and for the right symptom, it actually works. Needless to say, always work with an experienced homeopath or your doctor before you take anything new. There are certain remedies which are known to be very safe and which are very effective, especially when it comes to cold and flu. Another thing that I'm very fond of and that I recommend to take regularly, if not daily, is colostrum. I have spoken in detail about the wonderful benefits that are associated with it. It is something that I wish I had started taking sooner. There are more than 200,000 studies on the benefits of colostrum. The only thing that I want you to make sure is that you're sourcing it from the right place and that it is third-party tested, because ever since people have got to know about how beneficial and how useful it is, everyone and anyone has started manufacturing and selling it. And then I have many people tell me that they've been taking it or using it but they do not see the benefits, because it does not make sense paying such a heavy price for something which might not actually be what it is and might not even work. Another very useful remedy, especially for cold and flu, that I like keeping on hand is the elderberry syrup. There was a meta-analysis done in 2019 that actually called elderberry an alternative to antibiotic misuse or overuse for upper respiratory tract illnesses. You can either make it at home or you can get it readily made, but it is again a very good thing to keep on hand, especially during the cold and flu season. Another one of my favorites is bee propolis. Now, propolis is actually a protective substance that bees make from a mixture of beeswax, raisins, sap, botanical compounds, and even their own saliva. You can either have bee pollen, you get that readily available nowadays across stores, where you can add it to your morning breakfast, yogurt, smoothies, whatever it is. Or what I really like having, I always carry it in my purse. I'm going to show it, is this propolis spray. These are some of the things that I personally use, have experienced, and I have actually noticed the difference before and after taking them. And this is so handy and cute. If you feel that you've come in contact with someone who had the cold and flu, or you were in a very crowded situation, or you have been traveling by public transport during the peak season, then just taking 2-3 sprays at the back of your throat, and it's really very easy to use. Like, it's very easy to administer to kids as well. So it is a nice little thing to have on hand because it is effective. Probably the only thing that you have to keep in mind is if you're allergic to bee products or pollen, then this is probably one thing that you should keep away. And another homeopathic remedy which will really help is also 𝐸𝐿. I can cover it in detail in another video if you are new to this, or you can ask your healthcare provider. All your questions will be answered according to what is best suited good for you. Another thing to actually step up your immunity game is having specific immunoglobulins. Immunoglobulin M and G, they are one of the first responders and the main antibodies that go and attack the microorganism that is causing the illness in the body. So if for any reason you feel that you need that extra added support, or if you have any other concomitant illness, if you have any other comorbidity, as we say for example you are hypertensive, you have diabetes, you have certain other condition where your body is not like a healthy person's immune system and needs an extra support, then having an external immunoglobulin support is going to help as well, not only to prevent and protect yourself, but if you get it, to shorten the severity and the duration of the disease as well. Another nice thing to have at home is a humidifier. Now, it is not an absolute must, but the humidity of the house is another very important thing to keep in mind. You do not want the humidity to be excess enough to cause mold, but at the same time, a very dry environment can also lead to a lot of dryness of the mucosa, which can irritate it further and lead to further complications. And this is very useful, especially if you have little children in the house. And even so, if those little children do not even know how to remove those boogies from their nose by themselves yet. Because kids are nose breathers, and if they don't know how to remove the secretions out, there are ways by which we can take it off. But if you have a humidifier in your environment, it is going to help thin out the secretions and remove it in an easier manner instead of having it all stuck up. Now, there are way too many things that we can discuss when it comes to this topic, but one last thing that I want to mention, which is really very effective, is Dr. Brandy. Now, I know there is brandy that is available by that name, but what I was referring to is having brandy in a glass of warm water. Now, my parents always told me that they were given a glass of hot toddy, as some cultures call it, every time they caught a cold, and in fact it is believed to work in a manner very similar to ibuprofen. While this is not going to cure the cold, it will definitely help alleviate the symptoms. And in fact, none of the things that we have spoken about or discussed today is going to cure cold, because nothing per se can actually kill the virus. What we are trying to do is boost our immune system and give our body that support that it needs to actually fight off that infection and to take care of the symptoms so that we feel a little better, so that we can have a good night's sleep and so that we can recover in a faster manner. Alrighty, I hope you found this helpful. I hope these remedies help you and your family if and when the need arises. Always remember, prevention is better than cure. But if the need arises, try to assess what is your body trying to tell you, what does it need, and give it that help and support so that it can heal in a complete manner. Continue to glow, thrive and shine always. Take care. I'll see you soon.